I thought that we got a little better Saturday. I think each game we've improved in some areas. Certainly, there's still a lot of work left to be done. Disappointed with the way we finished with some of the down-the-line guys. It wasn't as clean and crisp as it should have been in the fourth quarter, especially offensively. You know, the way the games have gone has continued to be not very many plays and not very many possessions, but it's worked out okay. It's bottom line is the point total. So, you know, having said that, happy to be 3-0 and got the biggest challenge we've faced so far this year on Thursday night on a short week. So it's a quick turnaround against a very, very talented team.
Questions for Coach?
I guess in terms of this Clemson team, how much similarity is there to last year? Is it pretty much kind of the same group?
Well,
that you
it's
guys
a lot
had
of the
last year?
same guys. I think they've got some new offensive linemen on offense. Defensively, they've had to replace some guys, but you know, they're still big and physical. They got a lot of guys there. I think the stat that sticks out to me is defensively they're giving up 18% third down conversions. That's pretty good. So they fly around. They haven't been as prolific offensively as they have been last year, but they started on Saturday to play better, and you know they've kind of dropped some balls and been their own worst enemy. But I'm sure we'll get their best game. They're still very talented, and receiver number 7 is as good as has played here in a long time. I mean, he's a really top-notch receiver. And they've got other good receivers to go with him, too.
That's a pretty good running back in Webb last week. How would you
Compare him to Gallman?
Well, Gallman's a good player. I mean, he's been a good player for them for a couple of years. And, you know, it's a different style. This team is way closer in style to the way Mercer played than the other two teams we've played. Just as far as what they do, spread you out, try to get their guys the ball in space, and so they're more geared that way than a power team.
Coach Johnston?
You know, last year, pretty much kind of a train wreck start on both sides of the ball. How important, I guess, how much stress are you putting on this week not to come out with that focus and start fast?
We don't talk about last year other than the fact that they beat the fool out of us. I mean, they beat the fool out of a lot of people last year. And you watch the tape, we were not a very good football team a year ago, and they were. And we were especially bad in that game. So at least offensively, and we weren't much better on defense in that game either, really, to learn another truth. So you know, we just got to play better. I think we're a little better than we were a year ago. We'll see if they're better or the same or what they are.
I know you and Dabo are close, and I know you went through something a little similar last year coming off of the Orange Bowl. Is it hard when you have the same guys back to pick up just where you left off, even if you have a lot of talent?
I don't know that you can always say that. There's a possibility. I mean, every team is different, and you don't ever know. And just because you have a lot of guys returning doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go right back to where they were when they stopped playing. But you know, we lost a lot of guys off that 14 team that were critical players that didn't get enough credit. All those, the running backs, the A-backs, the receivers on offense. You know, and defensively we had most of them back. But truthfully, in 2014, it wasn't the defense that helped us that much. You know, it was that we were really good offensively. And you know, I've had other teams. I mean, we won the national championship back-to-back at Georgia Southern with a large part of the same team coming, and they picked up right where they left off the year before, so it just varies.
Coach, have you gone through any kind of simulation strategy or anything like that as you prepare for Deshaun Watson and Clemson or anybody else on their roster? Anybody you kind of got playing the role of anyone else on their roster at all this week?
Yeah, well, we'll start that today with the scout team players. I mean, you know, it's hard to have anybody be Deshaun Watson, but you know, we'll have quarterbacks who run their thing, and we'll probably run a couple of huddles on the scout team for sure before the week's over to get the pace and the tempo, and so as soon as one play finishes, the other group's on the line with the next play off the cards. But we do that against everybody that runs tempo. And they'll assign jerseys over on defense as to who's who. We haven't really talked about who's going to be. There'll be a couple of guys, you know, if you're running two groups, there'll be two quarterbacks and two complete different scout teams.
How difficult is it planning for Deshaun?
Well, I think it's difficult planning for their team. He's a great individual player, but they've got a lot of other great individual players. Like I said, if you look, their skill levels are really high. I mean, all the receivers are really good. Running backs are good. Big physical offensive lineman. And he's kind of the guy who makes it go, and he's very talented as well. So, you know, they've got plenty of talent.
You've faced some good linebackers so far this year. You got another one in Kendall Joseph who's really stepped up in his sophomore year.
Yeah, well, they've got, you know, like I said, I mean, the Boulware kid's a really good player. Kendall Joe, they have good players. They've done a really nice job recruiting. They've got good players, and, you know, they're deep. Yeah, I think we've always had the night games in general here. There's really a good atmosphere and that kind of thing. But I think Thursday nights have been really good. So hopefully we'll have a big crowd on Thursday night, and it'll be fun for the guys to go out and play.
I don't know how this applies, but does the shorter week maybe give less time to think about, or you build up the you know, to see the number 5, number 3 rankings? Does it give you less time to think about that and maybe build them up even more than maybe they are?
I don't think that we ever build. That's not the way I work. I mean, we just got to get ready to play, and I look at this as a great opportunity. And I never try to make it a one-game season, no matter who you're playing, or build it up to where the hype is so. You just got to go play. You know, go out there and play as hard as you can and execute. And if we'll do that, we'll be in the game. We can play with them. We've played with them before. And you know, I mean, you can take numbers, and we're good at doing that with whatever we want to do. But the bottom line is, we played them 9 times. We beat them 5. They beat us 4. Now, the last few years, they've won at home. We've won at home. We just so happened to play them at their place 2 years in a row. So, you know, the last 4, they've won 3 of the last 4, 3 of which have been at their place.
It seemed like in 2014 the defense fed off of the confidence in knowing the offense would answer back no matter what, and you could be more aggressive. Do you feel like you're getting to the point where the defense can do that? You can gamble more because you feel like you can answer?
Well, you know, truthfully, the first game's the first game. I don't ever get too excited about that one way or the other. A lot of it depends on who you play. If you take away the first series, and you can, but if you take away the first series of the game the other day, in the first series of the second half, defensively, we were pretty good. I mean, we were real good. We started to get a little more pressure once we got up there because they had to become more one-dimensional. I think if you can get ahead of people, you make them more one-dimensional. The other thing is when we're playing if we're playing well offensively and not turning the ball over and not making penalties, there is a huge difference. I just, you know, I was glancing at the thing from some of the league, and that's how I saw the 15 possession thing with Virginia Tech and Boston College. Well, contrast that with our game. Okay, there was 8 possessions. So that's like half a game. So if you can get people into an 8-possession game or a 9-possession game, and you're really efficient on offense, it puts a lot of pressure on them on offense, because if their concern is, I get 2 touchdowns down, that's like being 4 touchdowns down against somebody who's playing 15 possessions.
I guess, is that the one benefit of having played 2 P5 schools out of the gate that were traditionally good defensive teams for you guys, to know that you can respond to
Well,
that?
we've played 2 teams that we'll see how good they were on defense, but they were supposed to be good defensive teams, but they don't have the cats like these guys do. I mean, this is the most talented team we've played by a mile. Not close. And that's not to knock. I think Boston College has got some real talented kids on defense. Hard-nosed, good skin, you know, they're good players. But they're not the same type physical guys that you're gonna see against Clemson.